So, I just watched this video by this account called Black Queer Liberation. And, of course, she made it so that she took away permissions to stitch the video because she probably got tired of being called an agent for supremacy, which she is. But anyway, I want to talk about this video because it was essentially her trying to take down Dr. Frances Cress Welsing by saying that black men who are pro-black are anti-feminism and anti-rainbow ideology because of this woman. Which I will say that it was because of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing that we were able to articulate a lot of the things that we were noticing in our community, but that's not the primary reason why we are these things, okay? When I say that we are anti-feminists, that does not mean we are anti-woman, okay? That does not mean we are anti-woman. What we mean when we say we are anti-feminist is we are anti-insurgency. We are anti-agent, okay? The feminist ideology and the rainbow ideology are used as instruments to disrupt and destroy the black community, to separate black men and black women so that they cannot galvanize and stand together. Okay, when we look at the feminist ideology, which, by the way, no matter how you try to spin it, is not an ancient pre-colonial ideology. It is the same way the rainbow ideology is not an ancient pre-colonial ideology. Yes, there were, rainbow Africans, rainbow indigenous Africans. However, if you actually study our history instead of cherry pick the small instances, because that's what they'll do. They'll find someone who is queer within black history and they'll go, see, look, they all espoused it. That's not actually true. And if you've ever studied Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop or Dr. John Henrik Clarke in totality, then you'd actually know that. But these young black kids who come into themselves and discover blackness by some person on the left, they always end up talking this way because they don't actually study the black history that matters. They study the black history that affirms their beliefs. Anyway, when we look at the feminist ideology, right, we'll start with that one. They use that to separate black men and black women first, okay? That was the first instrument they used to separate us. What they did was they tried to enforce that black women were being, enslaved by black men, that black women were under the thumb of black men, and that they needed to free themselves of the yoke of black men, right? They tried to say, well, you, black women, are like us, white women. We are under the yoke of the patriarchy, right? And so by doing that, they diminished the role of the father in the home, the role of husbands, the role of men in the community, which coupled with the crime bill allowed for the black community to essentially be dismantled because they lacked leadership. They say that we are a matriarchal society as black people, which in many ways, yes, we are. The home is primarily run by the mothers, right? But without a father or a husband or men in the community, what ends up happening is that the young men cannot be reeled in by these mothers, which is why, as an ex-convict myself, I can attest to the fact that the majority of us black men who were in prison were raised by mothers. We're raised in single-parent homes led by the mother. Less black men in prison are raised by both their parents than not. So let's not act like the matriarch was able to control the violence that men inherently can perpetuate. Because yes, men, we can perpetuate violence. This is something we are capable of doing, right? And that's why you need other men to help reel that in. That's why you need other men to help direct that anger that young men often feel, especially young black men, help direct that into a means of growth. This is why the Nation of Islam was so crucial in the black community. This is why men like Khalid Muhammad and Elijah Muhammad and Louis Farrakhan and Malcolm X, right? This is why these men were able to command black men in such a way that they started to respect the women in their community, is because you need men to teach other men how to respect women. You can't have, you had these women who were single mothers who were, and I'm not coming at all single mothers, because not all single mothers are like this, all right? This is just the majority, because again, like I said, most black men in prison came from single parent homes raised by the mother. So you look at these women who thought that they could teach and raise these men, but ended up creating the men that they hate, the men that they didn't love or they didn't like, right? They raised the men that they ended up not wanting to have in their community. So this is one of the main reasons why feminism was such a danger, because it separated as black people, we come from a society of duality. We come from a society where everything is in symbiosis. If you have a black woman and a black man, that's supposed to be a revolving circle of power. And when you break that revolving circle of power, then you have a imbalance. And that's what ended up happening with our community through the guise of feminism. Feminism also supported Planned Parenthood, which I won't go too far in, because like all things that go against the agenda, when you say it on this kind of platform, they automatically go misinformation. So we'll just say that Margaret Sanger did not have the benefit of black people in her mind when she created the system that was perpetuated by feminism, right? So those are the main reasons why feminism is not liked by pro-black men, because actual pro-black men are pro-black women. And in order to be pro-black woman, you have to be pro-black family. And feminism is not pro-black family. They are pro-black female led. They're not pro-black female led, but they are pro-female, not pro-male. And this goes into why we are also anti-LGBTQ ideology, rainbow ideology. It's not that we are anti-LGBTQ, right? There are plenty of people in the rainbow community, in the black community, and they are just as black and just as human to us. What we are against, right, is the ideology that surrounds the community, not the community itself. One of the main things we can point to is Black Lives Matter, right? Black Lives Matter omitted black men from their organization. They admitted the role of black fathers from their organization. And again, just like I spoke about before, when you omit or try to exclude black men from the black community group or from the black family group, you end up with an imbalance, and that's what helps destroy our community. All of these things Dr. Frances Cress Welsing was able to articulate in ways that many black people were not able to. Even the nation couldn't articulate it as strongly as she was able to. Between her, Neely Fuller, and Shahrazad Ali, we were able to understand how they used the gender and the gender and sex divide to break up the black community, to break up the black family. So whenever we see things like, like that account that I'm talking about, who, they what they're doing is they're perpetuating the same exact talking points that come from this far left ideology, which again, they try to make synonymous with black people, even though, hold on to your caps, hold on to your caps and keep your emotions down when I say this, even though black people are more like and more closely related to being a conservative group than any other type, right? I'm not saying that black people are mostly or closely related to being Republican. I mean, we are actually the real conservative. When you study black culture and black history from the African perspective and from the black social perspective, you see that whenever we actually galvanized, it was black families that galvanized. Whenever we actually came together to move forward, it was under the guise of legitimate conservative values. And of course, like Neely Fuller said, supremacy takes both sides of the argument. So what supremacy will do is it will conflate conservatism with far right wing ideology, and it will conflate progressivism with far left ideology. So no matter where you sit on that spectrum as a black person, you are automatically conflated with that. But the fact is that our progressive thought process came from our ability to understand duality within the African concept, and our conservative ideology came from our ability to understand the structure of families and what makes black people powerful. So again, when we see accounts like that, we got to look at them and think agent immediately. Even if they aren't an agent, you are an agent because you're being used. And that's all I got to say about that. Peace out.